Yeah, EVO release date announcement at EVO makes a lot of sense to me. What does this mean for the possibility of Marvel 4? Well, I mean, yeah. I had a command on the channel which recently changed, which was !Marvel 4. And it said you have about 1 in 14,605,000 chance of there being another Marvel vs. Capcom game. And that was saying Marvel in general. MVC in general. Did not have to be exclusively a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 MVC anything. So that happened. We're in the 1. It's the same odds that Doctor Strange gives Tony Stark for all the realities that he's visited. There's one where shit goes right. We're in it. We're actually in it. I don't believe it. I get goosebumps even thinking about the fact that we memed about that for so long. We literally made jokes about that forever, but somehow we are in that shit. We're in the end game now. So if you're gonna ask my personal take on it, it's absolutely possible. Is it probable? That's a different question. When it could happen, how it could happen, what would happen, how long it could be from happening, I don't know. All I can tell you is Marvel 4 happening is definitely a chance because this is taking out of a playbook that had existed from the late 2000s with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 all over again. And that playbook was an opportunity for Capcom to sort of relaunch MVC as a franchise 8-9 years later. And they did. And it ended up being the best-selling digital game of all time. So yeah, back in like 08-09, MVC2 on digital release only for PS3 and 360 was the best-selling digital video game of all of them, which is nuts. That effectively led into a project development that happened soon after and was released eventually a couple to 2 to 3 years later, which was Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I'm not expecting anything anytime soon. I think I'm here in the moment right now. I'm not here to specifically make demands of the future. To me, this was already an impossibility that became a possibility. If you're asking my personal opinion, does that mean that something can happen? 1000% yes. Because the process of approvals, the process of how you make this happen with this as a product compared to MVC4 in terms of structure and deal making is sort of similar. It's probably like arguably not identical, but getting the licensing and rights for all of these characters for literally everybody in all of the Versus games and also old school Punisher and everybody in MVC2, that's a lot. That is a big bill. And it's not cheap, dude. Licensing is one of the things that made Smash Brothers as expensive as it was. And all the budget of Smash go into like, you know, big old single player modes and stuff. Why do we have like JPEGs fighting each other and shit? Well, it's because Sakurai spent the majority of the money of that project into getting characters and making trailers for those characters because the licensing was so expensive. The good part about this entire situation is compared to the last time there was an MVC game, Marvel Games is a much different studio, a much different presence than they were back in 2017 and before. In fact, their like entire mission structure and plan, they just want to make sure like their characters get into cool games and simplify that process. They are not connected directly to like MCU stuff anymore, tie-in deals for toys or any of that kind of stuff. That absolutely existed in the past with the previous Marvel vs. Capcom games. That isn't really the case anymore. The problem is that happened in like 2018-ish, way after MVCI was dusted. So it was like, oh, it was just inconvenient timing. The problem is that like the relationship, could it exist? Would it exist anymore? That was the impossibility. This is never going to happen, man. This is never going to happen. Long story short, it is it's 100% possible. If you're looking at EVO as being an opportunity and like an exciting moment of like, oh, are we going to get a Marvel 4 trailer at EVO? Well, no, dude. You're going to wait till this game comes out first, because if there's a brand new Marvel game, that almost delegitimizes the old games. Right? There needs to be space in between this shit. One of the worst things that happened to the MVC series in the past is that they were cannibalized by their own similar franchises or other fighting games. MVCI deservedly was cannibalized by Dragon Ball FighterZ, and Marvel 3 was cannibalized by 4 other fucking Capcom fighting games. It was bullshit, dude. These games just had no time to breathe. Now it's pretty clear that with the way everything is in this industry, that just doesn't work out. Let's just not drop a game right next to, you know, something like 2XKO. Let's just not do that. How about no? So anyway, my answer is yes. My long-winded answer is yes, I believe that there is a future for a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 game, but more importantly, there is a future for Marvel vs. Capcom, period. You would think that based on the current tenure and executives and effective bosses at like Capcom and Marvel are heavily aware of where this franchise sort of sits in terms of the audience's perspective. Because now the reactions over the past few big Marvel things have been pretty big. And it wasn't just this Marvel thing. It was also the free MVC2 movement and the Twitch Rivals Marvel event. They were fucking huge, dude. 38,000 people at the height of COVID watching a Parsec online Marvel 3 tournament. Like, that was insane. Yeah, we're in the right universe. We're in the chance for things to happen. And now it's likely just a waiting game because games just don't exist out of nowhere. Things take time. And our campaign was 3 years ago to get the eyes and ears of, you know, the right people into the right direction to hopefully make something like this happen. Can't take credit for it. You guys did a lot of work. I can't say that we all specifically were the reason this happened. It could have just been that, you know, the appropriate people just grew massive brains all of a sudden and were like, hey, we like making money and making people happy, right? Just maybe it was. But still, the fact that it's back is what's important. The fact that it's back and now it feels like MVC is bigger than ever. Like, holy shit, man. This is so cool. I could not have asked for anything else.